All right, so we called to attention at 6:32. And do you want to just go around and introduce ourselves? Say who you are, where you're from, and your priorities for the committee this year, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Michael Iglesias. I'm currently a second-year law student at Columbia Law School. And what I'm hoping to achieve is to help out the community and specifically through the community board agreement that it has with Columbia, as well as with other concerns like budget. And I'm assuming we're also going to be talking about the City of Yes initiative today.
Probably not.
Okay, and that's it.
Carlton, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Carlton Davis. I'm co-chair of Senior Action Committee. I'm also a committee member of Arts and Culture, and I'm sitting in on Strategic Planning and CBA.
Great. Good evening, Pat.
Good evening.
You want to introduce
Can you-
yourself?
Sure,
and the icebreaker question for tonight was your priority for this committee this year.
Okay, hi. It's Pat Watley Johnson from CB9, a member of the Strategic Planning Committee, the Senior Committee, and the CB9 representative to the WHTC board.
Great. And I am Barry Weinberg. I am the first vice chair of the community board, and I also chair this committee. And my goal for the committee for this year is to present to the new Columbia president any issues from the CBA that have kind of been stuck and pending for a while, and to also make sure we get our budget submissions in this year for both the mayor's preliminary budget, maybe gets a committee co-chair to testify at least one hearing at the city council on the budget, and to see the good organizations in our neighborhoods doing important work get funded. So with that, I just want to remind folks of the city budget process, which is one of our charter mandated responsibilities as a community board. We completed the first portion of this by submitting our statement of the district needs and priorities in the city expense and capital budget to the Office of Management and Budget late last year. That will be used as the agencies compile the mayor's preliminary budget for the fiscal year for 2025, which runs from July 1st of this year, 2024, through June 30th of 25. So we're already in FY24, and we are participating in the process to give feedback for the budget for FY25. So the mayor will release the preliminary budget sometime around the end of this month. We will then submit comments. We'll hold a public hearing and submit comments on that preliminary budget. And then the city council will hold hearings on it. I will encourage committee co-chairs and other members of the board to testify before the city council committees relevant to their remit when they hold their budget hearings. And then the budget must be passed before the end of this fiscal year, which is June 30th. Usually it gets done a little earlier than that. So that is our charter mandated responsibility to give input on a 100 billion plus city budget that funds almost everything we care about in this city. Schools, police, fire, sewage and water, parks, certain housing programs, and the community boards, of course. And then also the state budget, which is now coming up, which plays a role in the city's budget, and the state budget must be passed by the legislature and signed by the governor by April 1st, so March 31st functionally. And so that process is already underway in Albany. The governor has released her budget priorities. The houses of the state legislature will be putting together their one house budgets, and then they will all meet to hammer out a budget they can all agree on, hopefully before March 31st. So we're in the thick of it right now for the state, and we're about to be in the thick of it for the city. Are there any questions about those timelines? All right, hearing none. The mayor, so there was actually new news today, so the agenda is already out of date. The mayor mid-November announced 5% across the board cuts of city agencies to make up for higher than expected expenses relating to the migrant crisis. So that would have been for FY24, which is the budget we're in the middle of right now. The city is spending the FY24 budget and was going to make 5% across the board cuts. Some of those cuts have been canceled. It was announced today because tax revenues have come in higher than expected by about $3 billion. And there is more money coming from the state unexpectedly. And then the mayor claims that the measures implemented to force migrants to reapply for shelter every 30 days for individuals and 60 days for families are forecast to save 20% of shelter costs. So some of those cuts, including cuts to job placement programs for the formerly incarcerated and homeless, have been walked back by the mayor, which is good news. And so the mayor had projected a budget gap or deficit next year of $7.1 billion that we'd have to close. That gap has shrunk considerably to the point where it's no longer as big an issue for the city that it can wait until it is dealt with in this budget cycle. So good news on that front. Hopefully the tax money keeps coming in unexpectedly. Hopefully the aid from Albany and DC keeps coming in unexpectedly, but as suggested, we can't necessarily expect that. Are there any questions on the mayor's announced updates that were made earlier today? I will give it a rest on that item then, and then we will go to the next item, which is updates on city council discretionary funding. So the city council discretionary funding period is now open, which means that nonprofits serving our neighborhood can apply for money from the city council to fund operations that would begin in July 1st of this year. So for FY25, for fiscal year 25, the council, city council discretionary funding program is now open. This is really important for nonprofits serving our neighborhood, especially arts nonprofits, especially senior centers. And it is also really important for schools serving our neighborhood that have projects or issues that need funding. The deadline for those applications for the city council is, I believe, Tuesday, February 20th. But this is really important for senior issues. This is really important for arts and culture. This is really important for youth educations and libraries. All of those areas that have a lot of programs that are run by nonprofits in the neighborhood. So there are and have been workshops to help groups begin applying for those funds. Generally speaking, the applicant should be able to clearly state the program if they've done it before. If not, why not? And they should also be able to say how much of the program will be carried out by staff versus contractors. The city council is unlikely to fund a project with more than 20% of the costs being contractors. So does anyone have the names of one or two nonprofits they think that should be applying for city council discretionary funding for the coming fiscal year. Any ideas?
Off the top of my head.
I don't know, but I got a nonprofit. I just don't have the permanent. I have a temporary EIN. If I put it in permanently, how long would it be?
If you had your 501c3 designation by the IRS, then you could put in. If you didn't,
But I have
though,
a
if you didn't, you could work with a fiscal sponsor or conduit.
I'd love to apply and have it work for the seniors in our district, because there's a lot of things going on in our community with the seniors, not being able to connect with resources that's supposed to be available.
Yeah, and Carlton, just so you know, your audio is coming in very garbled, so I think I'm getting a good chunk of that, but so I would say that good evening, Monique. That applying with a fiscal conduit or in partnership with, if it's for seniors, a senior center, would be very helpful. Monique, we went over some of the budget updates, reminded everyone that the state budget is due April 1st, March 31st, and the city budget is due June 30th. And then the city council discretionary funds application is open, as I mentioned, on Thursday. So we're brainstorming lists of nonprofits who would probably merit applying for discretionary funds. So Carlton has a nonprofit himself, it sounded like. Senior centers in general should apply for these funds. So if there's a senior center in our district that isn't applying, we should ask why. Monique, do you know of any nonprofits, particularly in arts or youth education, libraries, seniors?
Well, I was going to say libraries for sure, because even though the mayor said I think they escaped the axe, I'm still certain that they probably need services. So that was going to be my immediate response. In terms of other nonprofits in the arts, I need to take a moment to process that and see.
West Harlem Arts Alliance, maybe?
Well, I'm thinking Arts Alliance for sure. What about Harlem School of the Arts?
Yeah. Harlem School of the Arts is a great one to encourage to apply.
Mhm.
Pat, do you have any ideas of folks we should be encouraging to apply for discretionary funding?
I don't, but I was just going to ask you, is it possible that we can look for more information? Like, could let us know where we could find more information on maybe through the NYC website? I was going to look it up so that we can get more of an idea on what the criteria is so that we can notify people accordingly. Because right now I don't know, but I'd like more information so that we can, find out more about the criteria.
Yep, give me a moment and I'll give you the link.
Thank you.
So I'm going to share my screen as soon as this comes up, and I'm going to put the link in the chat. Okay, the link is in the chat now.
Okay, thank you.
And so if we look here, they've got policies and procedures for funding. They've got the application window, which again closes Tuesday, February 20th. They've got the links to access those, and then they've got capital funding as well, which is for bricks and mortar things, maybe under rare circumstances, vehicles. And then you can also see who has already gotten some of this funding in prior years. So that's on this website where I just put the link in the chat. I would say, in addition, the Harlem Boys and Girls Club should be encouraged to apply.
Definitely.
And like we said, all of our senior centers, and then both Graham, Wyndham, and did the service provider at Grant Houses change? Who runs the center there still?
Who you direct that to, Carlton?
Carlton, if you know her.
Guy named I forgot his name that quick. Well, I know Janet Green and the guy name I can't remember. I can't his name. He has an African name. But
Children's Aid Society.
Yeah, maybe it's Children's Aid Society. Madison is suggesting, which would be a change, I think. Let's see, NYCHA says it is currently managed by,
This is YMCA or something.
doesn't say. Stair Hall Code, huh. Yeah,
Probably DJ should be
probably do.
DJ would know.
Yes, yeah, Shanika and Deirdre would likely know. It used to be Cornerstone is what I'm thinking of. And
it was DYCD.
it was a DYCD, but I think they contracted with Cornerstone, no?
And
Yeah, we'll check, but both of the community centers at the NYCHA campuses in our district, Harlem Boys and Girls Club, definitely, maybe the Uptown Inner City League, since they're always active in our parks and landmarks and youth and education library committees.
How about,
What about-
React,
Yeah, I was gonna say, we talked about Palante Harlem.
Palante Harlem, which does usually apply, I think.
Okay, I know it should be rolling off my tongue. What about the museum up?
Sugar Hill,
Yeah, the Sugar Hill Children's Museum.
yeah. Maybe some of the sports teams in Riverbank,
The programming.
yes, if they
Is
have
that-
a separate.
I'm sorry, because Shanika, she mentioned when they presented last week, or whoever the presenters were, there were a number of programs geared towards young people in our community. And like you said, I don't know, they're probably not joining, because then they could suggest them.
Yeah, so we've got a good list going. If you think of others, shout them out. But so the process is they would have to apply, and if they're not a 501c3, they'd have to apply with a fiscal sponsor who would actually have to submit the application.
On their behalf, yeah.
If they've never received funds before from the city, it would probably be in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $15,000, but with more if they already have contract with the city. And we could advocate to our council members about these programs. But there are also a bunch of city council initiatives that are, so for example, there's a theater, like theater ensembles or theater groups of color initiative specifically, that we might encourage Classical Theater of Harlem or others to apply for. And then there's a lot of after-school specific initiatives that folks should know to apply for, but we can mention. But I'll be sending around a list of resources that youth will be asked to send out. But you should forward these along to nonprofits that you think of them, or mention it if they come to your February committee meeting. It is due February 20th, and there are no extensions on that deadline.
Yeah.
The other piece is the borough president's funding, which has a similar but slightly different due date. I believe it's Thursday, February 22nd. And that is capital money And so that is very important for schools and parks and libraries and senior centers. So if it is city-owned land, or if it is a senior center or school that is rented, they can apply for capital funding to fund repairs, improvements, et cetera. And that can be a very important resource for those institutions in our community. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that link in the chat. So public schools and city agencies, so that city agencies would include parks. It's not what I wanted to do.
Would that include us?
It could include us, yes.
Oh, okay.
Get some soundproof windows or something.
Madison is suggesting soundproof windows.
I agree.
And so you'll notice that if it's not on city-owned land, it has to have a city operating contract for at least 3 years, minimum amount of 50,000. And if it's movable property, which would be like a vehicle, it has to have a city operating contract of at least 25,000 in the past year. So again, ownership for cultural projects, government-owned property, senior centers, or NYCHA, or HPD funded sites. And then it has to have a useful life of at least 5 years. It has to be at least $50,000 for equipment, $250,000 for real property.
Wow.
And if it is for parks or libraries, it has to, again, 5 years and $50,000 minimum cost. So all of that is on the website that I just put in the chat. But that's in particular really, really useful for our parks, schools, and senior center. So for example, the Jackie Robinson Senior Center, we were told needed an elevator replacement or repair. And if it's $250,000 or more, that might be something they could fund with city money. So, I mean, the libraries always have a list of capital projects that they want to work on. That's another opportunity.
Mhm.
And then, of course, schools, we know the variety of schools in our area that need these funds. So please, please, please circulate to nonprofits that you encounter. Heritage Health and Hospitals needs capital funding to build out their new clinic if they're ever going to relocate.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if we should be considering those community-based health centers that are in limbo.
Right. So these are all, and so the process for these is they get submitted and then they get reviewed and ranked either by the city council for council funding or the borough president's office and then funded. And then the work is usually done on a reimbursement basis. And so especially for expense funding, the nonprofit has to have the financial wherewithal to spend the money and then file its receipts with the city agency responsible for its contract, and then the city pays them back.
I was gonna say, Barry, that's the one caveat, because yeah, you basically have to have the money to put out. And for many of our organizations, that could be a challenge. I'm not saying they shouldn't apply, but that definitely makes it challenging.
Yes. And this is a known issue with the city that the mayor has said he was trying to address. I think the controller may also be trying to address it. So, and I think Sheltering Arms shut down in part blaming the delay in getting its reimbursement.
You're right.
So all things to consider. Again, those capital funding applications for the borough president are due February 22nd. But the city council applications are due February 20th. And we will send out hopefully a workshop recording that folks can look at to answer some questions they might have. There's also a great nonprofit called the Nonprofit Help Desk that gets funding from the city council speaker to assist nonprofits with these applications. Are there any questions about the discretionary funding process? Okay. Is there any new business that folks wanted to add to the agenda? Yes, Michael.
Okay, so I have a question.
Uh-huh.
It shouldn't take longer than 2 to 3 minutes, but I was kind of inspired by one of the speakers that came in, I think around November, during one of the general meetings. I think it was about having a lawyer represent you when you are facing eviction. Do you remember that or no?
Was it Palante Harlem?
I think so, yes.
Uh-huh, yeah.
So they went around, they're trying to get different boards approvals. So I would like to suggest something
Uh-huh.
that it's a separate but related topic. This would be in support of state legislation that's currently been on hold for the past 3 years.
Uh-huh.
So this is a state bill that started in 2021, which bans landowners and brokers from extracting a broker's fee
Mhm.
when trying to buy a new apartment. I believe it's especially egregious here in New York, especially when landowners are the ones that are demanding this from new tenants when they didn't discover this property, they've always owned it. And as a result, I would like to give a gentle push towards the state assembly. So I would want to propose to one of the subcommittees, whether it's an economic development issue or a land use issue, to talk over a proposed issue, which I can write out over either the next month or two. That would essentially get the state legislature moving, because I looked at the bill, it's currently 2 pages long. It's supposed to reach the floor, they haven't moved on it, it's 2024, what are they doing?
Do you know the bill number or the title?
It's, I can pull it up, it's right here, Assembly Bill A 47A1.
47A1 or 81?
81, sorry.
My phone. No.
So I can say it one more time, A 47A1.
So this is the bill that Michael is talking about. Up in the chat. Prohibits landlords, tenants, lessors, sublessors, and grantors from demanding brokers' fees. Okay. May demand any fee or demand any fee, including accept background checks and credit checks. They may or may not. No landlord may. Okay. I thought did they pass something about this in 2019?
I think they did, but I don't know what happened. So, I mean, obviously this is an ongoing issue. I understand if the state wants to make money off of it, probably for tax purposes, but I don't think this should apply for, regular people in New York. I think this should only apply for luxury apartments if you're gonna have a broker's fee. Or if you're buying the apartment, or if you're buying property, I understand the purpose of having a broker's fee. But if you're just renting a property, I think it's completely ridiculous. And that's why I try to support this legislation and to try to add to it. And that's why I want to bring it to subcommittee, because this gives an opportunity to not only this community board 9, but Manhattan Community Board, Queens Community Board, Brooklyn Community Board to start giving input on this legislation.
I'm curious to see who has the Senate.
I mean, certainly Manhattan being one of the most expensive boroughs, it would benefit many of our people for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recognize
I
any of those senators. This is a
Jabbar-
Senate bill, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Jabari Bridgeport, I think, is from Brooklyn, question mark. Julia Salazar is from Brooklyn. I don't know where Samra Brook is from.
Hmm.
Although I guess we could look. 55th. Rochester, okay,
Rock.
upstate.
Oh, please. I'm sorry. I should say
No,
it
I, listen, it's so, I think this should definitely be added to the housing committee,
Mm-hmm.
agenda. And they can, or maybe you can offer to draft a resolution for them
Yeah, I can,
in support of a bill.
yeah, absolutely, by Friday, or not by Friday, sorry, by February, we're very busy.
Excellent. This is really great. It's really helpful, I think, when folks bring bills that are in Albany to our attention.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can then try to get our state electeds, none of whom appear to be on these bills,
Yeah.
to support. And to clarify, this would ban landlords and tenants who are subleasing, forcing the tenants who want to take over the apartment from paying a brokerage fee. It would not stop the landlord from paying a brokerage fee to find them a tenant.
Correct, yeah.
So it could go that direction, but not the other direction. Okay. Any other new business? Moving along to some old business. So last month, the committee passed a resolution, or the community board passed a resolution outlining some specifics that it would like to see in the art space that is promised to the community upon the completion of what will functionally be the next Manhattanville building built. Probably on Broadway, the next lot up from, I guess it's the Jerome Green building. But I think making sure that we engage Columbia in discussions about that space. And, you know, I think given what we'd like to see and given the way the CBA was negotiated, it would make sense for that space to be in the next building that opened. And the Arts and Culture Committee and the Community Board already passed a list of things it would like to see in that space. And so I think beginning that conversation with the university would be really important. The other issue that has come up that is a perpetual thorn in our relationship with Columbia is the Columbia Secondary School for Math, Science, and Engineering, CSS. That school was envisioned to be relocated to 125th Street and Broadway on the southwest corner where the McDonald's was. And the community benefits agreement says Columbia shall make available land for a new school. That was intended to be land where a new school house, a school building could be built that CSS would relocate to. For those who don't know, there was a backroom switcheroo where Columbia offered the lot at 125th and Broadway to the Department of Education under then Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Bloomberg said, thanks, but no thanks, we don't want your free Manhattan real estate, and gave it back to Columbia, or declined to accept it from Columbia. And now there is university housing going up on that site. And so I think that there's a case to be made that, well, if Columbia offered bad land that wasn't suitable for a school, which was one of the reasons DOE claimed that they were rejecting it, they should offer other land, because we still need a school building. And then even if that is not necessarily the argument, CSS is still located in the Ralph Bunchy campus, which is on 123rd Street and Amsterdam. It's that funny kind of it's not the school on the rock, which is the Douglas, school, but it's the, it's a little farther east of Amsterdam. And it was originally built as an elementary school. So all of the facilities are the wrong size. It's co-located with two other schools, one public school and one charter school. There's not, and this flared up when the playground renovations were delayed from opening this fall. We got a lot of inbound emails from parents demanding to know why the playground wasn't open, but then also continuing the complaints about the physical plant of that school and its inadequacy for CSS. And I think that that is a topic we should bring back up with the new leadership at Columbia. Because I mean, this is a school that has their name on it, right? They have an affiliation to this school. It's a public school. It's a specialized school and a high school. It's the only specialized high school in our district now, I think, now that music and arts is down by Lincoln Center. And so, I guess we have City College High School, but City College High School hosts that high school on their campus. So there is a precedent for this, a public school being hosted in a university building. And I think we should ask Columbia to honor that commitment still.
I agree. There's no reason, I mean, it should be a shame that they're not doing it already. It's ridiculous.
And cynically, this is a great school for them. It's a New York City public school. It's a magnet school for kids from Upper Manhattan that could pipeline directly into Columbia to meet their recruitment and scholarship components of the CBA.
Right.
It collaborates with faculty. I mean, this is a win-win for everybody, except the real estate department.
Yeah, I was gonna say it can be a feeder school, which is what Columbia needs to be more cognizant of, period.
Right.
As we talk about representation.
The other battle, though, that we have had is with the Department of Education.
Oh,
Because they have their heads so far up their asses with this school, which is not kosher to say, but they do. Because this is a school located in District 5,
oh,
but it is on the very edge of District 5, 6, and 3. And it is 5, 6, and 3. And it is a feeder school, or it's a magnet school that draws from District 3, 4, maybe, which is East Harlem, 5, which is mostly Central Harlem and part of West Harlem, and 6, which is part of West Harlem and Washington Heights. So it's a school for 3, 4, 5, and 6. Every time we have sent them a budget request on this, raised this issue with them, their response is always the same. District 5 does not need more high school seats. And our response to them is increasingly frustrated. It's not a District 5 school, you chuckleheads. And we need to, Deirdre, Shanika, and I met with the superintendent for Manhattan about this in 2020, right as the world was beginning to fall apart. And it's a discussion that we continue to have, but we need their cooperation on this.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we have to stay on top of it because it's been a long-standing conversation. And quite frankly, there's no excuse except the lack of will, which is not acceptable.
Right. And Assemblymember O'Donnell was also helpful in having those conversations. But again, we all ran into and so his office allocated some funding to try to address the issues in that building and make it less bad while this fight was going on. So I think they had allocations for maybe a library, which they don't have. And by law, schools must have a library in New York State. They don't have a library. And I think he also allocated money for maybe some restroom retrofits and cafeteria expansion, because these kids were eating lunch at 10 a.m. because you have 3 schools sharing one cafeteria. So you have to eat in shifts, and it's like basically they're eating lunch the whole day, somebody.
Yeah.
So I think that is a point worth really pressing anew with Columbia, because it does tie into, it's at least 4 portions or 3 portions of the CBA. The establishment of the school itself was included in the CBA. A new physical location was in the CBA, and it also ties into local student recruitment and scholarships.
There you go.
And then possibly number 4, if they were to ever move out of that building, maybe, the Tetris of school locations being what they are, maybe then TCCS could move into a building where it would be in one building and not spread out across 2 buildings. And that's Teachers College Community School, which was also in the CBA.
It sounds like a plan, Barry.
Well, it's a plan that's been around for years, and we just have to keep fighting for it. But I will raise this again with Shanika, Deirdre, and Victor.
Understood.
And it's good that the parents are riled up again, because we will need them to fight with the DOE. But anecdotally, I don't know if this is true or not, the parents, don't always get a warm reception at CEC5, because they go to CEC5 to fight about these problems, and CEC5 says, you're not a District 5 school. Like, why is this our problem? I mean, and then DOE tells them you're a District 5 school, you don't have problems. So it's
It's outrageous.
yeah.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right. Other provisions in the CBA that anyone wants to talk about? Madison, you have an idea?
Some of that affordable housing they was talking about, maybe? Housing maybe.
So affordable housing, which is, so there are 2 components of affordable housing in the CBA. Well, there are 2.5, 3. The first is everybody who lived west of Broadway between 125th and 135th, who was displaced or will be displaced, is entitled to a new apartment built by Columbia. And some of that has already been done. The building we are in currently tonight, where the community board offices are, is a residential building that will be displaced. And so Columbia has, I think, 2 or 3 lots up at 140, is it 147th and Broadway where Encuentros con Dios, the church is now? It's like, I want to say north of Papacito,
I'm not sure.
by the 99-cent store. It's up around
I
147th.
think it is on the downtown side of the street.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking
Yes.
of. So they've
Yep.
already moved at least 2 buildings there. They built a big development there. And then the lot on 125th and Old Broadway, where the laundromat used to be, is going to be redeveloped into a residential building by Columbia for people in Manhattanville. And then I think there's another building going up at St. Nick or Frederick Douglass. So that is one component of the affordable housing, is everybody who lived here should get an apartment to replace their apartment. Number 2 is $10 million, or eventually $20 million, was given to the West Harlem Development Corporation to be used for affordable housing. I do not know if we have an update on that. There was a loan made to a development in CB10, Marcus Garvey Village, which has been repaid to the Development Corp. But Pat, have they announced any update on the Affordable Housing Fund at the Development Corp?
Not yet. The annual meeting hasn't been scheduled yet, so I'll have to get more information by then.
Okay,
Very
yep,
quick question. So when the CBA was signed, I think back in 2009, there was two members that were both on that West Harlem Corporation as well as on the community board. Is there any overlap now?
so there are 3 Community Board 9 members on the board of the West Palm Development Corporation.
Currently,
2, yes, 2 of them are appointed by the board, which is Pat Watler Johnson and Reverend Morgan Thomas. And then the third, who is not an appointee, but is on the board, is Ted Kovalev. So, they are excellent people to go to if you have suggestions for the WHDC or feedback. Because they are directors of the board. And then the final third component was related to affordable housing. Well, there was HDFC technical assistance, which I would include in there. And then there was also funding for tenant legal services, which is now at Palante Harlem. It used to be Manhattan Legal Services. We didn't want it at Manhattan Legal Services when the CBA was done. They put it there anyway. Problems arose. It's been moved. I think we originally wanted it at Legal Aid Society, but so it goes. Affordable housing, okay. So we will request an update from the WHDC about the Affordable Housing Fund. And we'll request an update from Columbia about the direct replacement housing, I guess. Any other items from the CBA that anyone wanted to cover? Yes, Madison.
Can we just tell them like to not, I'm gonna say not fund the CB10 one, because that's not gonna do nothing for CB9 people.
Oh, that discussion was had loudly and multiple times. And the money has been returned to the WHTC with interest.
Okay,
So they lent the money to the project in CB10, it has been repaid.
all right.
So they have more than $10 million now in the fund.
So
I
they
think.
just gotta come up with a development?
They have to come up with a development or a plan. So we've talked about the site at Child's Memorial, that did not happen. If they do affordable housing with a better developer at 7027, maybe WHTC could play a role there. The RKO Hamilton project would have affordable housing as a component, and they could invest that money in that to create affordable units. So we, as the community board, try to come up with projects. They try to find projects. People come to them with projects. There's been a question about like funding HDFC repairs in some form of low interest loans or things. But any ideas are welcome. Do you see a lot where there should be affordable housing that the WHTC could invest money in? Let us know. And let Pat know, and let Reverend Morgan Thomas know, and me and Victor, and Signy and Liz. It's a big family.
That was it for me.
Are there any updates, Pat, that you want to give from the Development Corp?
No, the last update I gave was at the December meeting. So since then, the annual meeting hasn't been scheduled yet. So I don't really have any updates as of now.
Okay, thank you. Monique, Carlton, any further business from the CBA?
Not at this point, really.
I was
Okay.
gonna say not at this point either. I didn't get a chance to, because I'm thinking about in terms of the health committee. We already talked about the community-based health centers. I was trying to think of other programming that provides address health needs. Nothing at the moment.
Okay, one thought you might want to take back to the health committee is, both City College, so we talk a lot about the community benefits agreement because it's important that it be fulfilled. But there are other benefits to having two world-class universities in the neighborhood in forms of City College and Columbia. And if there are any health studies that would be useful to the community. So for example, as a thought, studying the health impact of the wastewater treatment plant on air pollution, or studying the impact of the trash pilot rollout in terms of rat sightings, or if there are things that would be worth studying from an academic perspective that the community would find beneficial, that's something we should raise with Columbia and City College.
Well, I know with Columbia, we are working with them to do a research event on Saturday, March 16th. And the focus of that convening is to share, reveal to the community the research that is occurring in the community and what some of the results are and the possible benefits. So I know that is something that is being actively worked on and addressed. In terms of the CBA and having Columbia do more of that, is that the implication of your statement, Barry?
It's not so much about the CBA, it's just, for example, I'll give, I wish economic development were here tonight, but economic development as a committee struggles to understand the economic activity and contributions of home-based businesses, right? That's something they've talked about a lot this year.
Uh-huh.
And they've tried to find sources of data with the state, Secretary of State's office, which handles corporations. But, if they could partner with either the business school at Columbia or the Bond Center at City College to try to get other data sources or conduct other research that would both give more insight into it. This would be a hot topic, presumably, given, the impact of the pandemic on work from home rates, maybe new business starts.
Yeah.
And that would also give us some very valuable local information about ways we can look to then try to find ways to either give more support to home-based businesses, or maybe there's a gap where they start well at home, but then they don't have a way to scale up because they need affordable office space or co-working space or something. Or, maybe there is whatever. We don't really know, right? Because we don't know where these businesses are or who runs them or what their success or failure rate looks like, because we don't know where to get that data yet. So it's not so much community benefits related as it is, what would be interesting maybe for a researcher to interest, but that we want them to research. We're asking them to research it.
Got it.
They're not necessarily coming to us and saying, look at all of our fabulous research that we're doing. Here's how it's good for you. It's like, well, have you considered researching this? Because that would be helpful for us to know.
I agree. I mean, the resources are here. We should take advantage of them because it's going to do it, we hope anyway, and we should know what they're doing and benefit from those results. So I totally agree with you. Yeah. And you gave a great example. In terms of the health committee, as I said, I'm trying to think if there are other things we should think about that we want information or need information on to help us make sure, for example, the quality of access and the quality of care is improved in CB9. So I'll make a note and think and bring it back to Laquita.
The reason I brought it up is because I think one of the things that landed on our budget priorities, it maybe first got there the year before this one, was the city DEP had air quality monitoring study or program for a number of years, but it was like due to end in 2020, I don't know, maybe 2 or something. And then we wouldn't have data on our air quality, particularly like the particulate matter in our air, like the soot in our air. And that data was used to show the benefit of the city's ban or phase out of certain heating fuel oils. So they were phasing out the heavier, dirtier heating fuel oils, which began under Bloomberg. And you could see the improvement in the air quality in the data. And it would be interesting for us to know, is this local law 97, the energy efficiency law, is that going to have an impact on our air quality that, because particulate matter triggers asthma and can cause asthma.
Yeah.
So will this law, in addition to reducing carbon, will it also improve air quality and reduce asthma attacks? That'd be something, or what's causing asthma attacks in our community?
Exactly. I do like the rat study that you just mentioned with those containerizations and like what's happening. Are they really tracking and following how effective it is? I mean, people have said it anecdotally, but it'd be nice to know some more hard facts.
Right. So community engaged scholarship, I think, is one of the terms for
I like
for this stuff. So maybe I'll add that as an agenda item.
I like that. I think that's a good term.
It looks like, Grace.
Yes, Grace.
Sorry, this is a little bit jumping around, but because we were talking about the Columbia Secondary School earlier and the provision in the CBA about the University Scholarship Fund, I was wondering if anyone, I was talking to a CB9 member the other day who mentioned that maybe Victor Edwards had done some sort of data about who has actually received that and the redundancy of offering need-based scholarships when that's already what Columbia offers to its the people that they accept. Do you know where I could find that?
Victor would probably have it.
Okay.
He did work very hard to get them to disclose that data. It is probably, when the CBA was being negotiated, maybe it wasn't redundant. As far as I know, for Columbia's aid policies, there's still no loan below $100,000 of family income. So yeah, it would be slightly redundant now, but are they hitting their, because I mean, there are a ton of academically gifted, well-prepared students in Upper Manhattan who could go to Columbia, who could apply and get in. And I think the question that we would have then is, okay, if you're living up to your financial aid guarantee, then what schools did you visit for college fairs? What college fairs did you go to here? And we've had that conversation with Columbia, and they don't really have target schools in our neighborhood necessarily. And so that's been a conversation that we've been having with them over the years. So, but yes, Victor would definitely have that information. Actually, I'm going to add that also. Undergrad recruitment. Because yeah, I think most people in this community don't know that it is functionally free for them to go to Columbia.
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? I think I'm going to add one new thing, which is it may help for us to start to compile a list of community-facing Columbia resources. So Columbia puts together their, like neighbors newsletter, but the fact that Columbia is so fractured into so many fiefdoms, I would guess that they might not have, the School of Social Work may have like a clinic for residents on XYZ problem, like accessing HRA benefits maybe. Or the law school, I know, has legal clinics for things like immigration issues, or maybe not housing actually, but definitely immigration. But like what law school clinic, what clinics does the law school have? What does the School of Social Work offer? We know kind of what the main campus offers, and we have some good resources for what the medical center offers, but you know, are there things that are missing from that? Might be helpful to compile. So I'll add that as agenda item along with community engaged scholarship. Any other topics under anything we've covered? It can be budget, it can be CBA, it can be community engaged scholarship. It can be none of the above, like the legislation that Michael brought up. All right. I will just ask everyone in this meeting, when you are talking to nonprofits in the neighborhood or schools in the neighborhood or parks in the neighborhood or friends of parks or senior centers, this month for the next, literally for the next month, you should be, the words out of your mouth should be discretionary funding, apply, budget season. And that's both, yeah.
Barry, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish your thought.
No, yeah, I mean, like this news needs to be spread far and wide and socialized in our community. And in our committees also for the same purpose.
So what I was gonna say, to help spread the word, can we get it put up on the kiosk?
That's a great idea. Add to link NYC kiosks.
Mhm.
Anything else? All right, we will not have a meeting next month, but there may be a public hearing depending on when the mayor's preliminary budget is announced and released. So we'll hold a public hearing on the preliminary budget. And then our next regularly scheduled meeting would be the third Tuesday in March, which is March 20th. But there may be like, because we meet every other month, but there may be an intermediate meeting for the public hearing on the mayor's preliminary budget. Also, get ready for city council budget hearings and take this back to your committees. When that mayor's preliminary budget is released, we're going to hold a public hearing. We're going to submit our feedback in writing. But the city council pays attention to who shows up to their budget hearings. That's how the city council's attention got placed back on Till one year, was because CB9 and a bunch of Till people and Palante Harlem and the Till 10 Coalition all showed up to the HPD budget hearing. And we're like, don't give HPD any money for ANCP. They're not spending it well on Till. And the council was like, what's Till? So, so those budget hearings are really important. The 2020 Bill de Blasio cuts to SYEP were fought in city council budget hearings, and we testified during those. I think we've had a little bit of a drop off in our city council testimonies. Actually, we should organize.
Barry, sorry,
CSS.
two
Yeah.
questions. Are they in person or are they hybrid?
I think they're hybrid, the city council budget hearings, but I think that's up to the city council. I think last year and the year before they were hybrid, but we sent out a big email last March.
Right.
All the committee co-chairs about testifying.
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody did.
I think I did.
Oh, good, excellent. You would have
I
been
think I did.
one of the few. But so making sure that we can get, you know, it doesn't have to be a co-chair either. One member of a committee to testify at a city council budget hearing about the things we think are good or bad in the preliminary budget and what we need to see in the final budget. We used to be really good about that. We kind of trailed off. Not every community board does it, but the ones that do usually see good results. And maybe we can organize the CSS parents to show up and testify about how SCA and DOE are screwing them over repeatedly. And that might shame them into doing something about it.
You said CSS parents?
Columbia Secondary School.
Oh, have them come and complain.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for Till a little.
Yeah. They don't want bad press, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And they're already fighting with the mayor, so
Who isn't fighting with the mayor?
Well, that's a whole other story, you're right. But I agree, bad press is not good press. I don't believe all press is good, and bad press is not good.
Might be good for us, good for somebody, maybe.
Okay, maybe. That's for sure. But that's it. Oh, I see Madison there. Madison, I saw your comments. I'll respond shortly. I didn't forget you.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. I
Any,
just had to say
any other business announcements, reminders?
that.
All right, I think we can adjourn at 7:38.
I second that. For
All
whatever.
right. Thank you, party people.
All right.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Woo-hoo.
Good evening.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night. That's saved.
So apparently I read that it's the most amount